Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Happy New Year, New Year's Day. We've got a lot to talk about in the NBA. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keith, any New Year's resolutions for you?
No, not really. I learned a long time ago if I make those kind of things, I'm just setting myself up to fail. So I just keep a general goal of try to be better by the end of next year than I was the prior year. And
Yep.
I think, in 2024, I pulled that off. I had a really good year professionally. Personally, there's a lot of challenges going on in our family, but everything picked up and was in a better place by the end of the year. So we ended the year strong, starting this one strong, and I'm excited. How about you?
Same. I do the same thing. Which no surprise, we're on the same wavelength here. But I don't really like the whole New Year's resolution thing because most of the time it seems like they fall by the wayside by February. So.
Yep.
Rather just have a consistent goal of constant personal and professional growth and improvement and all of those things. And then from there, it's just a matter of, reflecting back on 2024, which I'll tell you what, Keith, 2024 was a tough year. It was especially August and September were rough, rough, especially covering the team that I cover. Those were some tough months. And so I will not look back fondly on those months. But other than that, it was a pretty good year overall, and I'll take it. And now I'm looking forward to what 2025 is going to bring.
Yeah, I completely agree. We had good year of growth with the channel here
For sure.
for an off-show basketball bulletin. Really, with the start of this season, as I really started to grow as well. So we're excited about that. Over on Spot Track, we launched our trade machine and launched our trade machine app. Did you see my tweet today about the trade machine?
I did not.
All right, you're gonna love this.
I'm gonna find it.
It's about the top trade partner combos in the trade machine over the last 2 days of 2024. You'll like this one. It's the Lakers and basically 10 other teams.
I see it now. Oh my, okay, I need to share this. All right, so this is your tweet, and this makes total sense. I am not surprised one bit about this. Lakers, Jazz, the top trade machine partners: Lakers, Jazz, Lakers, Bulls, Lakers, Raptors, Wizards, Pelicans, Kings, Hornets, Blazers,
really funny.
Nets. Wow.
When our guy Scott, who he is really I am kind of this is what the trade machine needs to do, and then he builds it and makes it do all the things it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a code. I call him a code wizard. He was like, "Hey, you're gonna love this," and he sent it to me this morning, and I was like, "That is too funny." So, but yeah, there it is. So it's Lakers fans all over the Spot Track trade machine, but we appreciate it there. So yeah, I had to share that with you because I thought you'd get a chuckle out of that.
That is funny. That is funny, but it makes total sense. I'm not surprised in the least bit, but there it is. Lakers fans. They're hitting that Spot Track trade machine. And I've been telling everybody that'll listen over on the Basketball Bulletin YouTube channel, that's the trade machine that I use to show everybody different deals and how they can work and not work and things of that nature. It's, the new rules are built in. Keith, I still see trades people throwing out there that are getting approved by other trade machines that I look at it as I'm still learning the new CBA, and I go, oh, that doesn't work. That's not a legal trade, and yet it's getting through on some other ones. So Spot Track, at least whether or not your trade can actually work.
And again, I say this all the time: if you notice something that seems off, just shoot me a note, and I will dig into it. Sometimes it's not actually off, and I'm always happy to explain why it isn't, just for the educational piece. And every once in a while, we do catch things that are off. There's a lot of moving parts with this, not just in terms of the actual rules, but anytime you're building code and you're moving players around and the way we have to tag players and all the sorts of stuff we have to do with that. Every once in a while we catch something, but yeah, I appreciate, all the people using it, how it's been downloaded a ton on the app store. If you're interested in the app version, it's only an iOS app. We're working on an Android version. with that. But yeah, it's going great over there as well. And it's the same exact thing. And the nice thing is whenever we update something on the site, it flows directly to the app and just as soon as it's able to. So if everybody's like, well, I don't really like apps, because you're going to keep the app updated. It should all be the same within a matter of minutes of each other. So we're pretty excited about that. The funniest comment I got was somebody was like, I went to your trade machine to see what it looked like, what the Dorian Finney-Smith trade looked like, and I couldn't see it because you guys had already done it. Like you had already processed the trade on the site, because that's how quick we try to get things updated on the site when we can.
I saw that too. I was like, damn it. I wish there was a way to rewind, because I want to punch in these salaries and see what could. So I just reverse engineered it and flipped it and turned off restrictions and sent Dorian Finney-Smith to the Nets and Shake Milton to the Nets, and then redid it. But yes, I saw that too. I was like, I as soon as the trade broke, I went in there to show everybody, because we were live on Lakers Nation. I went in there to show everybody this is the trade, and I'm like, oh yeah, they already have the players swapped over. It was incredible how quickly you guys were on that.
We tried.
Speaking of the trade market, let's get into some of our news for today.
Yeah, let's do it.
The Pelicans reportedly prioritizing a Brandon Ingram trade. Zion Williamson also will not ask for a trade out of New Orleans, although his name is getting kind of tossed around as maybe somebody that they'll look at moving if they really want to do a big kind of franchise-altering type trade. It does seem from all reports that the guys they're going to keep are Herb Jones, who popped up in a rumor connecting him to the Dallas Mavericks, although he's the kind of guy where if the Pelicans seriously put him on the market, like every team would have some level of interest in Herb Jones. He's great, has a great contract. But Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, Jordan Hawkins, and Yves Missi, those are the four guys that the Pelicans are really set on. We're not trading these guys. And then after that, I think they're open for business. In terms of a playoff push, the Pelican season is over. They only have 5 wins right now. They're out effective. Maybe not math wise, but let's be real. They're not making a playoff run this year. So the goal for now is going to be move Brandon Ingram. But Keith, we're still sitting with the same problem with Brandon Ingram, where right now the Pelicans don't want to give Brandon Ingram his next contract, not at the money that he wants, and no one else does either. So something has to give here in the next 5 weeks in order for the Pelicans to get value for Brandon Ingram. I mean, I guess it's the same, though, as the Jimmy Butler situation, where the Pels can say, well, if we don't find a trade for him, where is he going to go in free agent? Do the Nets want him? Do the Wizards want him? And if not, where does he go? He still needs their help, and then they can get something back in a sign and trade.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where, if you're the Pelicans, you've still got kind of control of this situation, because you're not going to be held held at ransom for Brandon Ingram to say, well, if you don't sign me, I'll go, leave, as a free agent, because you're not really worried about that, right? The Nets are not in that position. The only other team that I project to have cap space is the Wizards, and they're not going to have enough cap space to even go there for Ingram, nor are they overly likely to go that direction. So now we're in a spot where, it really does become, hey, you're going to have to work with us. And it sounds like things are, as much as there's no momentum on a contract extension, it doesn't sound like things are in like a bad place where like the sides hate each other. Yeah. So I think you just kind of keep playing it out. See, it's funny. I keep reminding people of 2 things. One, because they kind of contradict each other, but one is the trade deadline's still 5 weeks away, or really like 4.5 weeks away. So we're not at a point where like we're super worried about this yet. Right. So we want to be very conscious of that fact that there's still plenty of time here for this to play out. And I'm sorry, it is like 5 weeks. Sorry. The time just kind of loses meaning around this time of year, especially with school being out and all that. Like I don't have a good concept.
I keep losing what day it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's I just know it's the 1st. That's like pretty much all I know. But anyway, to go back to Ingram here, the other piece is you can kind of let it play out. And then I've had a couple people be like, hey, why are we saying the Pelicans are done? Like season's just getting going. And that's, to me, this is people who are just checking in with football winding down. And it's like, we're almost at the halfway point. Like they're done. Like they're 11 and a half games out, I think it is, of the last spot in the play-in tournament. So never mind like anything more than that. Like their season's over.
They have the worst
moving
record in
towards,
the NBA. They're 5
yeah,
and 28.
exactly.
The Wizards are 5
Yeah.
and 25. They literally have the worst record in the
Yeah.
league right now. They're
Yeah.
yeah, they're
They'd
not
have
going
to
anywhere.
play 23 games over 500 just to get to that marker the rest of the way. Like that's not going to be a thing. Just to get to 41 and 41, what they'd have to go 36 and 23. Not to say that's completely out of the realm of possibility, but not the way they're currently structured
No.
with all these guys injured. So yeah, so that tells me if I'm the Pelicans, I don't need to rush a trade. We're doing just fine, being terrible. Ingram's out anyway, so there's no reason to rush that. And let's just see what comes. And if nothing comes, then you know what? Then we'll work together this off season on it, get him somewhere where he wants to be instead, and we'll figure it out. But I do think this one will resolve in a trade before we get to the trade deadline,
Yeah.
because I gotta imagine that's going to be Rich Paul and Clutch Sports going to work to make that happen.
Agreed. And I think, and we'll jump to this topic here. I think that the Cam Johnson trade market, the Brandon Ingram trade market, the Kyle Kuzma trade market. We'll talk about Jimmy Butler in just a little bit. Jeremy Grant. There's some other names that we can throw in here, but these are all intertwined. The teams who didn't get Dorian Finney-Smith, okay, they're going to pivot to some of these other options now.
Yep.
And Brandon Ingram is certainly in that mix. Now he's the most, aside from Jimmy, he's the most expensive of the group of wings that we know out there on the trade market. And so that can be a complicating factor in addition to the salary issue for this summer in terms of the team acquiring him would essentially have to commit to being the team to pay him on his next contract. Otherwise, they're going to see him, leave. So there's that. But I do think that as the Cam Johnson market really rounds into shape here, and the Nets, what they're asking for, these teams that are interested in Cam Johnson, and there's a lot of them, they're also going to register interest in Brandon Ingram, depending on what the ultimate deal looks like. And I do expect, Keith, that Cam Johnson contractually is going to be, because of his contract, is going to be the priority over Brandon Ingram. So it may take a Cam Johnson trade first to be the first domino, and then that will shift more focus towards Brandon Ingram. Not saying we can make an argument Cam Johnson versus Brandon Ingram player for player, but there's so much more certainty on the contract front, and he costs so much less that I think Cam Johnson is going to be, he's the next domino to fall on the wing market, or the domino everyone's waiting for on the wing market right now.
I do think it's kind of funny. I actually saw someone say, well, yeah, I'd rather go with Cam Johnson over Jimmy Butler or Brandon Ingram because he's the much younger player.
Sure.
Cam Johnson's actually older than Brandon Ingram,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. So, Cam Johnson is not, for some reason, people still seem to think he's like this 24-year-old.
He was an old rookie.
Yeah, exactly. It was an older rookie. Brandon Ingram was an extremely young rookie when he came in. Now, yes, compared to Jimmy Butler, yeah, he's significantly younger for sure. But you do have the certainty of him being signed for the next few years. And his contract has a nice little dip in it to next year. The Nets put that in there when they were kind of lining things up post Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving trades, because they didn't know where they'd be at come 25, 26 and using cap space and the like. I will say this with Cam Johnson, there's one complicating factor. I wrote about this on Spot Track. People can go look it up. He's $22.5 million for salary matching purposes. But if you're an apron team that has any kind of apron concerns, he's at $27 million for a team there towards the apron, because he has unlikely bonuses in his deal for about $4.5 million of them. So that's something that you do have to keep in mind. And he is a regular player. This actually came up with the Lakers. This was probably about 2-3 weeks ago, where Lakers fans are having a hard time getting him to the Lakers when they were only $30K under the second apron. And they're like, but the salaries work fine. And like one guy even like screenshotted me the work he did on paper, which I was like, that's cool, but I'm not your teacher. You don't need to show your work. It's okay. But it was funny, like, and I get it, but it was because of the fact that he counts at $27 million towards the apron.
Yeah.
So that's why the trade was failing, because the Lakers didn't have that kind of buffer under that second apron, and would have caused them to go over it. So just keep that in mind as you're playing with it. Again, in the Spot Track trade machine, that does count and factor in. I don't know that those kind of things are being factored into other trade machines out here. But yeah, I think what's going to be curious with this is right now, it sounds like the Nets are holding very firm They want 2 first-round picks. I wonder if that turns into, or we'll take an interesting young player in a first-round pick, or we'll take one real first and one protected first, and that is how they give on that, or something like that. I'm very curious to see how that ultimately plays out.
Well, they already set the precedent too by wanting a first round pick for Dennis Schroeder and taking seconds, wanting a first round pick for Finney Smith and taking seconds. I think teams will assume that, just what you're saying, Keith, they might ask for 2 firsts right now, but when push comes to shove, maybe they do take a little bit less. Now with Cam Johnson, though, I think the situation is different. Finney Smith, 31 years old, potentially expiring contract if he does opt out of that money that he's got on the books for next year, 15 million or so.
Which
Dennis
they're
Schroeder,
reporting now, Michael
Scotto
reported that he is going to opt out. Now that, to me, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But I would say what that is pushing more likely towards is, assuming things go well with the Lakers, he opts out, maybe even takes less money next year, but adds at least 2 years of guaranteed money onto his deal as it moves forward. And if I was the Lakers, I would try to structure that as a declining deal. I might even start him around what his option was for, for 15, 16 million, and then re-sign him in a spot where it is, hey, we're going to do that, but then we're going to decline it year over year. So as he ages, the deal goes down. We'll see if that's how that ultimately goes. But we're still months away from that playing out.
That would be a smart way to handle that for sure. And that's something that I would like to see. I don't know if they will. It's not something historically that they've done, but it would be smart to do it that way. Now, that said, those 2 guys, Schroeder, Finney Smith, older, expiring salaries, the sense was, you got to get something for them right now. And if we have to take second round picks, we'll take second round picks. That's fine. With Cam Johnson, though, he's got that dip in his salary next year. The Nets have a lot more, I don't know if I want to say leverage, but they've got much more flexibility here, where if you don't get the deal you want for Cam Johnson right now, okay, well, we'll just keep him. We'll keep him and we'll trade him next year then. Like, you have your window to trade him is not between now and February 6th. Your window to trade him is much wider than that. So I think with Cam Johnson, they can more credibly say, hey, we want 2 firsts, and maybe they give a little bit, but I don't think you're going down to, okay, and we're going to give him away for seconds or anything like that. Like, they're in no rush to try to trade him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's the kind of guy they're already set up to have somewhere between 50 and 70 million in cap space next summer, even if they do nothing else the rest of the way here. As far like, if this is just the roster they finish the year with, I don't know that you need to push that even further by saying, all right, well, we took less for Cam Johnson to get that 20 million next year off the books. Like, that's not a move you need to make. You could let that carry into next summer. You could let that carry even further beyond that, because you don't want to go into next year with, hey, we've got nothing but right now they look lined up to draft 4 rookies in the first round. You don't want to be like, hey, we've got the 4 rookies and a couple holdover guys, and that's our whole team. You would rather be in position to say, hey, we've got at least a couple veterans. We've got Claxton, we've got Johnson. It kind of go from there. Now, I'll also counter that with, but if you get a great offer for Cam Johnson, of course, you make the trade and you don't even think twice about it. I do want to touch on one more quick thing with the Nets before we move on. I'm projecting them at almost 55 million in cap space. I keep seeing people saying they're going to have 70 million. As set right now, for them to get to 70 million, that would mean they have to renounce, you can see it right there on the screen, the restricted free agent rights for Cam Thomas and Day'Ron Sharpe. I don't think they would do that. No. I think they'd keep those cap holds, which are, not massive cap holds, but they're decent size. And I think they would keep those guys on the books instead, just because they're not the kind of guys you want to be walking away from. 23-year-old Zaire Williams is in a different spot. He was a flyer they took in a salary shedding move from Memphis this offseason, just to kind of, let's see what happens with that. But yeah, I think Thomas and Sharpe, I'm not ready to quite say they're going, but they certainly could. And if they did, that's how you get to 70 million plus in cap space.
Exactly. Okay. All right, let's jump over to Jimmy Butler. I need some kind of a drop for Jimmy Butler. I feel like I need to make something. But Jimmy is won't say that he wants to stay with the Heat. Won't say that he wants to leave either. He's just trying to keep his head down here and see how the situation ultimately develops. But it just, I still, even though Miami put out there that they're not going to trade him and all of that, it makes sense to me that we do see a Jimmy Butler trade by the trade deadline, which sometimes this league doesn't make sense. Sometimes what should happen doesn't happen, and that's the way that it goes. But it just feels like this is the right thing to move on if Miami can get their asking price met.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Like, it's funny because people are like, well, he's going to come in now and maybe acts like a jerk. And it's like, I don't mean this really in a real snarky way as much as it sounds. He's always kind of a jerk. So, like, I don't know that you're going to get it all that differently out of him. Like, I think he's going to show up, and when he's healthy, he's going to play. And he's going to play well. I certainly think if he's feeling anything, he's not going to play, because why bother at this point? But he even said himself, he's like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to go out there and win games. And I believe him with that. I don't think this is going to turn into Jimmy Butler's out there, no showing games and just getting his cardio in and, a bunch of foolishness. That said, you'd rather move on if this is headed towards a divorce anyway. But it's kind of like the Ingram situation where you're not just going to give him away because of that. So, let it play itself out. And then maybe the Nets are, they've been rumored as a destination. Maybe they do want to throw a ton of their cap space at Jimmy Butler this summer, if not, a ton of it, all of it.
No,
maybe
Brooklyn.
No, yeah, they should not. I fully agreed. But if, that's been a thing that's been put out there before as part of the reporting. So you do have a little bit of, all right, well, maybe we could watch him leave for nothing. So, yeah, I would be very open to finding, is there the right trade for him, and go find it and kind of go there with that for him, because why are you going to keep messing around if you can avoid it, if you're the Miami Heat here? So we'll see. It's a big number, $48.8 million, big number to move in a trade. So you're going to have to really get some stuff. I wrote about it. Same piece, actually. No, I apologize. Different article. This one was just about Jimmy Butler.
Together.
Yeah, it does. But I wrote all about how, like, there's a bunch of different stuff that makes trading Jimmy Butler complicated too, especially if it's to one of his rumored destinations that he wants to go to, like Dallas or Phoenix or Golden State. There's all kinds of challenges within that, but we'll see, where this one goes. I do want to say this: him and his agent not saying he wants a trade, I think that's motivated by, hey, let's not cost ourselves $100,000 here, in fines, because why would we do this if we don't want to? So I think players and teams and agents are all being very, very careful to dance around the wording of, I want a trade, I'm requesting a trade, because now the league does have the ability to fine, and they have issued fines for that already under this new CBA. So I think we want to be very cautious of that. I think the next time we see one of those is when it really is like a guy is like, I'm all out of F's to give, and I don't really care. That's how badly I want to trade. I'll take the fine and go with it from there. And we're certainly not there yet. But I mean, Butler did not do anything to kind of say, hey, no, this is where I want to be forever.
Exactly.
I don't want to go into, like, that press conference he did yesterday did nothing of the sort towards that.
No, what he didn't say said a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what he did say, while not saying it, also said, like, yeah, it's very weird. You can find the quotes, and even I think there's video of some of it now too, so you can almost hear the context in there too.
He was very, like, just dancing around things and saying just as much as he could without crossing the line. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't want to address any question. He didn't want to give any certainty of, oh no, I want to be here. He also didn't want to say, I want gone. He just but just middle of the road, and made sure that he didn't say anything that was going to get him fined.
Yep. Then Marshawn Lynch taught these guys well.
Yep. Exactly.
So don't get fined.
All right. The Phoenix Suns, Keith. At this point, I'm thinking it's you. You must be the team that you go all in on. It's been the Clippers for years, and they've struggled, and they have not lived up to expectations. Now this year, it's the Suns for you. and they're getting frustrated. They're sitting below 500, not looking good right now. And I think that fundamentally they're 15-17 on the season. They've lost their last 3 in a row. They're in the 11th seed right now in the Western Conference. I do think fundamentally there's some challenges in that if you're going to do a big 3 roster build the way that the Suns have, especially under the new CBA, those 3 pieces have to fit together perfectly.
Yep.
And I don't know that that's the case with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. Actually, I do know it's not the case with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. The problem is at their core, when they're at their best, all 3 of them are putting the ball in the basket. And so that's a tough thing to get the most out of all of them when they all are at their best when they're scoring the ball, and none of them are the best when it comes to all the other stuff. If Bradley Beal was Bam Adebayo or something like that, it's a very different situation in Phoenix, just because then you've got, okay, what he's best at is rebounding and passing, and it doesn't have to be putting the ball in the basket, defending multiple positions, all the stuff he does. But with Beal, Booker, and Durant, I think we're seeing some of the limitations of a group where the best they could do is score the basketball. Plus, they are a very injured group. But even with the 3 of them on the floor, they've not lived up to expectations. So what's going to happen here in Phoenix? Is a Yusuf Nurkic trade to shake things up? Is that the best bet? Or where do they go from here?
Yeah, Nurkic or Grayson Allen, maybe.
Grayson Allen.
Josh Okogie got that contract that was signed to be a trade chip. Those are the kind of things I think we're more likely looking at than one of the big 3. I don't know that it's going to be a Durant, Beal, or Booker move. I could say very confidently it's not going to be Booker. Like, I think if even if they were to go like the nuclear option, it would be keeping Booker and reorienting everything around him versus anything else. Just age factors in there quite a bit. And he's like been their guy, right? They drafted him. They've been developing him. He's turned into, an all-star, all-NBA level guy. He's an awesome player. So there's no reason why you would do anything like that. But yeah, I would expect they're exploring the market for Beal again, just because we legally have to note it at this point. It has the no trade clause, so you're not doing anything without his approval at that spot. That's beyond getting into the fact that he's owed $150 million through 26, 27, and feel pretty confident that he'll pick up that player option. I'd be pretty shocked if he didn't at this point. So it's just, it's kind of tough for Phoenix to make much happen that involves one of those 3. And I don't think it's going to be this year. I saw, I can't remember who it is now. I apologize. Somebody tweeted, it's going to take them missing the playoffs before Matt Ishbia, as a newer owner, is like, all right, this didn't work. Let's start over again. And we'll see. So I think it's just going to be get the best you can out of it. We talked about this with the Kings a couple days ago on our last show, how the Kings have been unlucky this season. Like they should have a better record. The Suns are 15-17 now after losing last night to the Grizzlies. And by the way, I know you were watching the Lakers game. I covered it on the basketball bulletin, a game where Memphis just outworked them, out-hustled them, and outplayed them all night long. Just played harder than the Suns did all night, including in the final moments of the game where they got a game-clinching offensive rebound to seal it. But so through that game, 15-17, with their offensive and defensive ratings, their expected win-loss and schedule and all the things that go into that is actually 14-18. So they've actually played a bit above where the numbers say that they should be.
So it's the opposite of the Kings, where the Kings, it was expected that they'd be like, they have like 17 or 18 wins and like 14 or 15 losses. Wow, I wouldn't have anticipated. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess though. Here, Keith, I mean, look at this.
Just not very good.
I just pulled. Here's cleaning the glass. This is with Booker, Durant, and Beal together. They've played 414 possessions, which is not a lot over the course of the season.
Let me tell you real quick, just because I pulled this number this morning. Booker, Beal, and Durant have only played almost 198 minutes together this season. That's it through 30 some odd games. 198 minutes. They're negative 3.7 in any lineup with those 2 guys in it, or those 3 guys together, any lineup.
And here's on cleaning the glass, it's negative 3.9. The numbers
they filter out garbage time, so that makes sense that it's even worse.
Right. So they are I mean, they're not even winning the minutes with him, with the three of them on the floor together. That's the bigger concern, because you could say there's some, like, if it was their +4 or something with
Yeah.
those three on the floor, then you'd say, okay, they just really need to get these three guys healthy. But that they're negative with those guys has got to be a big concern for the Phoenix Suns. I do still think they're better than maybe what their record suggests. Although, Keith, what you're saying is that they maybe are been a little bit fortunate in their record. But I thought of this though too, Keith. I think that in the Western Conference, whoever is sitting in the 11th seed right now, we're talking about in terms of like what's wrong with this team, right? Whoever, because no matter who it is, they're a team that we would have expected would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that was without Sacramento being the 12 seed right now. Like if you flipped Sacramento and San Antonio right now, we would just be saying, well, whoever the 11th seed is going to be talked about as, why are they the 11th seed? They're better than this. They should be in the playoff mix here. That's just the depth right now in the Western Conference, even with the Pelicans being gone.
Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that. I think in the specific case of the Kings and the Suns, who we've talked about recently, there are real signs of there is stuff wrong, right? Like there is, things just aren't working with those teams. It's because if they were like 17 and 15 in 11th, we'd be like, well, sucks to be in the West, right?
Yeah.
But when you're 15 and 17, it's like, no, you have real issues. Now, let's be clear. They go on like a 5-game win streak. They're probably,
which they can,
7th or 8th, at the end of it. And that's, where it could be. But yeah, I mean, you're starting now. This is where we did this. I think we've done this every year. We've done this show. This is right around the time, right around New Year's, when we start talking about, all right, where are we at? How much do we have to make up for them to be a home court advantage team? They're 4.5 games behind Dallas. So you have to be 4.5 games better than the Mavericks the rest of the way to do that. Is that possible? Sure. I mean, Phoenix still at the end of the day, it's Durant, Booker, and Beal, and a bunch of good players, and maybe a trade in there. But it's hard to think. And on top of that, you would have to climb 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams, right? Like that's probably just not going to be a thing, right? So that's where it gets, you start putting yourselves in these holes, and it gets really, really hard to dig out of them. I promise I'm not poking the bear here, twisting the knife, but you know all about it with the Lakers from the last couple of years. You put yourself in a hole, and then you have to play 100 miles an hour down the stretch. You have no opportunity to rest guys. And then do you have anything left by the time you get to the playoffs? We'll see if you do or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the issue that the Suns are now staring down. Obviously, there's a long way to go. They're by far not out of it, but things not looking good right now. And we'll see if they can make a move, if there's something that, I mean, again, they can't aggregate salaries in a trade. There's a lot of restrictions that they're dealing with, but we'll see if they can come up with something to try to put themselves back into the mix here in the Western Conference. Keith, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
good man. Show to start off 2025. With that, we appreciate everybody who's been joining us over the last few years now that we've been doing the show here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate all of you guys that have been coming in every day and commenting and chatting with us and all of that. So again, a Happy New Year to all of you out there as well. And we're really excited for what 2025 is going to bring.
Yeah, without a doubt. If you're new to the channel, if you just stumbled across, because we've had some videos that have performed really well in the last few days. So that's again, thanks to y'all for watching. Thanks for the likes and the comments. Those are huge. When those numbers rise, that it allows more people to find the channel. But this is our time to shine. If you like what we talked about today, a lot of trade stuff and all that, that's what we're going to be doing over the next month or so here as we get towards the trade deadline, as well as breaking down everything that's going on in the league. So hit a subscribe, hit a like, and every Friday live shows. We're back. We're locked in now, so we'll be back to our front office Friday live shows as well, starting at the end of this week. So excited for all of that there and everything. So great time to get in on board if you're new here to the channel. And if you've been with us, again, I'll echo Trevor's thank you for all your support and everything over the years and helping the channel to grow.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. Until next time, see ya and stay safe.